If you're a business owner and you're still using AI like a toy or a party trick, then you're losing time in your business every week. And so in this video, I'm going to share 7 hacks that separate the time-rich business owners from those who are always drowning in busy work. Hey, I'm Quintel, former government analyst turned entrepreneur. I founded Good Part and Company, a plant-based health cafe and juice bar here in Baltimore, Maryland. Since then, I've launched Green Book Digital, where I work with service-based businesses to cut time using the right AI tools and the right AI systems. And by the end of this video, you're going to get a clear roadmap on how to use AI in your business every day, not occasionally, not just when you get time, but every day so that you can use it to your advantage to save time, save money, and actually grow the business that you want. So let's get started. You might be saying to yourself, fam, you had a juice bar. What the hell do you know about AI? Well, I'm not a software developer. I'm not a coder or any of those things. I've always been interested in computers. I had a computer since the end of high school going into college. I was fortunate enough for my mom to invest in a computer for me way back in those days. So I always had it around. But what I know about AI is that I know business. I like business. I love business. And I know in business you need speed and efficiency. So when ChatGPT dropped in 2022, I used it to build up my juice bar and help me scale to a higher level because I went from having a small shop to serving about 100 or so people a week to serving hundreds of people a day as a partner with Johns Hopkins University. So here's some quick photos. This is me, my man Omar. He used to come up to the juice bar all the time. But this is in my mom actually worked with me in my juice bar. So there she is here in this photo. We're at Johns Hopkins there. But this is actually me figuring things out. On the back end, I used AI to develop app scripts, eventually some micro apps where I was able to better manage inventory for my juice bar between 3 storage locations, 2 locations. I ended up closing the first one, but I had to scale my juice bar really, really fast. Within the first year, I had a partnership with Johns Hopkins within 9 months, and then I had 2 juice bars out of nowhere, and I was still working full time as a government analyst for Social Security Administration. Here's another photo. This is me at the counter. So this is a point of sale system that they purchased and just gave to me. So I had to software my way through this thing. I had to thug it out. And so that's my experience in AI. Not being trained in the classroom, but being trained at a job where you eat what you kill. Like this was actually my business. And if I didn't do it well enough, then it was just going to fail. And so that's what I know about AI. And ever since then, I've used it every day since 2020. And when they opened that, when they dropped the $20, I said, I got 20. If the world is coming to an end, I got $20 in my pocket to pay for ChatGPT at least. All right, so that's my story into using AI as an entrepreneur, and that is the way I always think about it. Okay, yeah, I use it for practical lifestyle things, but I'm here to make sure that we use it the best we can in our business so we can get back time and actually live more the life we want, right? Because we taking care of our business and then our business is taking care of us. Now, let's get into these 7 hacks. So, hack number 1, talk over type. This is going to take some time, but what you have to get used to doing as a business owner, everybody wants speed. There's no faster communication than just actually talking to somebody. But we don't always have time to get on the phone. Sometimes we shoot them a text and then we gotta wait, and so it's asynchronous and wait for them to hit us back. Same thing with email, right? But with AI, we have it in our pocket. It's the most convenient thing. You have it in your pocket. You got it on your laptop. All those things. So we're used to having an interface connection with it, where we type into an interface and get a response. But now, as you can see here, we have the dictation tool, we have voice mode, and then we have actual apps that we can speak into and get our points out, get our message across, get our prompts across, get our request across. And what talking over typing does is it allows for more speed. Most people are better at speaking than they are at typing. I actually prefer typing, but more than anything, I prefer the speed. And so it's been taking me time to get used to it. Okay, so the key factor here is speed. Just talking, using the dictation tool. So all of the large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all of them have a default dictation. This microphone here is for dictation, and then some of them, Claude, ChatGPT, they have voice mode. Voice ChatGPT made voice mode really popular because you can have a straight up conversation with it, and then they have different AI models like 11 Labs where you can do voiceovers and all those good things, right? But then they have actual tools like Whisper Flow and Super Whisper where you can whisper into the microphone and it'll pick up what you're saying if you're out in public and you need to talk to your AI. But the benefit of using these apps is that they are built to understand verbal context a lot better, and they can pick up the right voice in loud settings. But that context is really helpful because what it does is it'll frame and format what you're saying in a better way. So, for example, you might be talking to ChatGPT and you're giving it instructions, and instead, when you say, well, the first thing I want to do is, and the next thing is, instead of it being all one paragraph, that's what you're going to get in the dictation tool. These apps are actually going to break it out one, two, three. And so here's a quick example. I use WhisperFlow. Like I said, I'm still getting used to it. So here's like some long passages that I've had. And then I think I should have an example here. But these breaks, like I didn't put any of these. So these bullets, I didn't type these bullets in. I was just speaking to the app and it understood that I needed to break up the directions that I was giving. And so here you can see a lot of my conversations, a lot of my dictations back and forth with AI. So that's the very first hack, right? You use the voice features so that you can get more speed. You get your thoughts out faster, and then you get faster responses, and then you can go back and forth. And now everybody has ChatGPT 5 if you use ChatGPT, even free users. So you have quite a bit of conversational access with your AI model if you're using ChatGPT 5. Let's go to the next one. So the second hack, context is king. Now this is something that I picked up just in business in general, especially working when you have your own staff, when you have your own employees. You can't just tell people to do something and expect that they know how to do it. A big thing in business, especially in service businesses, which is why a lot of service businesses stay small, is that we don't often have enough time to train. A lot of entrepreneurs are internally motivated people. They step up and take care of things whenever they need to, when they actually should be delegating those things or letting somebody else take over. But you have to train them on how to take care of those things. You have to give them context to what it is that they need to do in order to achieve the results you want. So same thing when you're using AI. You want to give it context. This means better inputs get you better outputs, right? So sometimes people just give really bad prompts like, hey, write an email for me, or hey, do whatever the thing is, and then they turn around and say, well, AI is overrated, or I don't like it and it doesn't work that well for me. Well, you're not giving it enough input. You're not giving it enough context to understand what is going on and how to actually go about getting the results you want. It needs context. So you got to give it context. So you give reference docs or images and chats. I always give a reference if I'm using the article. If I'm using the image, I want something to look like this, or this is how something looks. I need something similar to this, so this is what they're saying. I'm always uploading a reference in a document. You want to upload resources to your projects. We'll talk about projects later on. That's one of the hacks. But if you're building projects in your language models, you always want to upload resources if you have them, and you want to give it the best context. So before I show you a live example, this is a prompt framework document. And so I'm going to go down here real quick. So this prompt talks about context, and that's what you want to do. All of these prompts are decent. This is how you build a prompt, right? But prompt engineering and context engineering are different. The prompt is you just giving it a direction, and it's going to give you back an answer. When you give it context, you engineer the context so that it has better understanding, so that you don't have conflicting context, so that you give it the right historical context, and it'll give you a much better answer. But the reason I put this here is so that you can see there are different ways to format your prompts, and then there are different ways to go about formatting your context. Context engineering is the next level up from prompt engineering, basically, but it's the same system of thought, right? Giving it the instructions and the way that it's supposed to come back with your answers. And so here is a live case study working on one of my clients. This person is an author and a speaker, and they always have to go back and forth with getting booked with the organizations and the schools that they work with. And sometimes they might just go through these email processes and these email campaigns, and they're doing it from scratch. So that's a repetitive task that they can do. And so I just took them through the process of giving the AI the right context for what it is that he actually offers when he's going to speak, the programming that he puts together for the audience at the places that he speak. So if you're giving it the right context, in this case, we end up building a custom GPT. And so inside the GPT, the same way you would build inside of a project, you give it the right references and the right resources. And here we gave it, the resource was, let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. So yes, I can. And so the resource was an actual email template. So I templated it based off of an email that he had before, but I gave it the context. These are the things that we need. We needed to have a certain tone. We needed to have call to actions. The call to actions have to reference these three types of services that I built into my programming. Like all those types of things have to get put in. And so that is what context is all about. And so that really helped him continue with breaking down and building out more and more emails to get booked for more and more speaking opportunities. Now let's move on to the third hack. Where does AI enter? So this is all about understanding how to use AI in your business. So we build our businesses and we come from a time where we all had to do things ourselves or employ another person to do it. And then we got some software, but somebody has to run the software. But now AI can do a lot of processes for us. It's called automation. But we don't default to thinking about how to automate a process. But you need to be thinking about how much of the process in my business can AI actually do. AI is getting better and better every day, every week. And it is, for the most part, things are digital. And when you have repetitive digital tasks, those things can be automated. So, for example, you could automate writing content, editing content, appointment setting, analyzing data, summarizing data. Most repetitive digital tasks can be taken care of. Before we even got to large language models and being able to talk back and forth with AI, we had automations. We had some level of automation. This is how I really got into AI, using automations for my email campaigns. That is a form of artificial intelligence. You do one thing, it triggers the next thing. You open this email, it triggers the next email, so on and so forth. So think about where you can automate the processes in your business. And how that works means that you have to be a very aware business leader. You have to think about your actual workflows. You should actually have a workflow that you can execute, but you can also communicate very well for somebody else to execute, and that you should put that down on paper. So let me give you an example. So this is how I've been using it for content creation. Okay, so let's break it down. This is how I currently use it and how I've used it for one of my clients, like a mental health facility where we had to do marketing campaigns, right? So we have to build out a content creation flow. Well, the first thing you have to do is understand, so you have to set the goal. And so this HIL, that is a human in the loop. Let me see if I can spell it right. So HIL means human. Okay, HIL, human in the loop. So a human has to decide what the goal is. The AI can't say, we just gonna make you content. No, what is the content? Where are we posting the content? Who is the content for? AI won't know that until you tell it, right? So this is the example. Set a goal. So here are the platforms we're posting to. But this can also break out into more things like who your audience is, right? What are their pain points? Where they hang out? Shoot. How they actually speak, slang or vernacular, right? Understanding all of these things, only a human can tell AI this. Once you understand your audience, then you can tell AI your audience, and then they can go do some research on that audience. But it won't know until you tell it. So you need a human in the loop for the first step, and then you're gonna decide what the platforms are, right? Maybe you post 3 times a week on LinkedIn, on Instagram, twice on TikTok, 3 times on Twitter threads. So you give it the goals. Then you do some ideation. That's where you can use AI. You can remove yourself from sitting around thinking, writing, right? Of course, if you keep a journal or you take notes or you have swipe files, then you have a place that you can get ideas. But sometimes you can just use AI to go scrape ideas and say, hey, find the trending topics for this week in this industry, whatever your industry is, whatever business you have. The next thing you want to do is create based off the ideas that you have. You can let AI do that. First, you let it do your first draft. Okay, you creating some ideas based on some inspiration you found. Now you go create the first draft. Again, you don't have to create this. You can use AI for that. The next step, you got to edit that draft. That's where a human comes back into the loop. So right now it's human in the loop, AI, human in the loop. So half and half, right? Next step, you can use AI to post and publish for you. You can do that using a lot of the publishing tools. You got Later, you got Plannerly, all the other ones. You can do it through automations if you use tools like N8N and all that good stuff too. And then once you post and you start getting feedback, you're getting comments, you're getting likes, you're getting views, you can use AI to analyze all of it. And then you go back and you refine it. And you refine it first, add a human in the loop, and you do this together with AI because AI might can tell you what the stats are, and then it can give you suggestions on what to do more of. But then you actually have to make the final decision on what that refinement looks like for your content. So that's just a quick example. And then the very last thing you're going to do, right, is that you're just going to start all of this over. Okay? So that is how to think about where to insert AI into a process of your business. In this example, we use content creation. Hey, quick break in the video to bring you a message from the sponsor, Green Book Digital, and myself. If you're a service-based business, then you probably know you can use AI to save time so that you can focus on things that you're really good at, like serving your clients. But you may not know exactly what tools to use or how to use them. So I created the signature service report card. So with this report card, it runs down a checklist of all of the touch points that really elevate your business and make sure that the operation behind your business is as good as your service. It only takes 60 seconds, and then you get a score, you get immediate feedback on how to make improvements, and you get customized recommendations on all of the things that you could use to better improve operations and your service and save you time. So if you're interested in getting your score, click the link in the bio and get your signature service report card. Now back to the video. Now, hack number 4 is probably my favorite, using AI as a strategic partner. The reason why this resonates with me so much is because I didn't have any partners when I started Good Parting Company. I don't have any now, as of yet, with Green Book Digital. So I use AI as my strategic partner. So this is where I think business owners can get the absolute most out of using AI. Not using it like a toy, not just using it like a tool, not just using automations like an assistant, but actually using it as a thinking partner, as a strategic business partner, because the models get smarter and smarter. And while we may not understand what the last test for humanity may be or any of the other benchmarks that they keep talking about, it's true that the benchmarks apply, but all I know is it gathers information, it processes information, and it gives it back to me in a very smart way that I can understand. And that's what matters to me. It has access to the internet. By it, I mean all of the AI models. They have access to the internet so they can gather the information, put it together, and then make great insights, and then do it in the way that you want it to execute. It speaks the way that you want it to speak. It'll format it the way you want to format it, and it can apply strategy faster because, like they say, success leaves clues. So it can pull from all these successful touch points in business history and just give it right to us. And that's a beautiful thing, because before that, all we had, and all what we still have now, is reading biographies and history books and business books. And now we have podcasts and videos, but AI processes that for us even faster. Another really great thing is that it can spot blind spots for you, right? If you give it enough context. And so prior to a few months ago, or maybe I don't know how long it's been, but ChatGPT now has memory. It didn't always. So you will always have to give it context. And within the conversation, within the thread, if you didn't let it go for too long, you would be able to have it point out some blind spots. But fast forward to today, it can immediately spot these blind spots if you're using ChatGPT, that because it has memory. And if you're using any other platform and you give it enough context, they have these huge context windows where you can give it more and more information, and it can help you find blind spots and give you better strategy. And so this is how you want to go about it. If you're using ChatGPT, this is on, if you're using the mobile version, you're using the desktop app, or even if you're using the web application, you want to go into settings, right? And then you want to go to personalization, and then you want to make sure that you reference saved memories. Now it has a memory of all of your conversations. If you want to take it a step further, you can actually go in and manage the memories where you actually give it all of the notes. So here you can add, you can delete some of the things that have been committed to memory, or you could give it other goals. You see the trash can here, and you can delete some of the things that if you may not want to have it in memory anymore. I try to update it a couple times a year, maybe more than a couple times if I know my goals are changing, or if I hit a goal, or if I realize that I'm just chasing the shiny object. I'll delete it from my memory so that it doesn't keep making reference, because it will keep referencing things that you may not want it to reference. But you should always be thinking of how you can use AI as a strategic partner. I highly recommend you think of AI as your strategic partner. Whether you use ChatGPT or not, you should be referencing AI to do some research, to give you some feedback, to point out your blind spots, and to hold you accountable and be honest about whatever your approach is to your business. So, hack number 5, Project Power User. This is one of my favorite features using AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Creating AI environments or projects that remember and adapt to your business. So we had custom GPTs first. That's where you can build a custom GPT to tackle a very specific task. You give it a role, you give it references, frameworks, instructions, you give it an output format, and then you can actually give it resources so that it'll know what to follow and directions to do it. Okay, so I look at it as an ultimate cheat code for a business, because you put all of the right things in this, and it's only going to reference those things unless you instruct it to do something else. So a project is like a higher level of a custom GPT. A project is a folder that is enriched and trained to tackle a specific project, right? A full project. And the way I look at it is like a project is a notebook. And then within, even though the icon for projects is a folder, I look at it as a notebook, and then custom GPTs could be a folder in the notebook, right? Because it's very specific to a topic within your business. So this is where it pays to be organized as well. So you can use a project for anything. And if you're not very organized and you don't know how to organize things within your business, just ask AI to organize it for you. Say, hey, these are all the things I got going on in my business. Which things are related? Which things can I put together in one project where it makes sense to have them together in the project? And it'll do that for you. The benefit I find is that if you have a project and you keep the conversation going, it's going to have context for how to continue to build out things. So, for example, I talked about doing content creation earlier. In this video, you can have a project for long form video. You can have a project for short form video. You can have a project for how to write LinkedIn posts. You can have a project for how to write Instagram posts. The good thing about having multiple projects for your social media content is that the way that the content is written and created doesn't overlap, and it's more platform specific. That way you can be more targeted in how you put together the content that you actually publish. So I find that to be really helpful for me. Now, my first powerful use case of using the project was when I used it to run my email marketing campaigns. And so I was able to generate $45,000 in sales online when my juice bar was closed, because I was running these email campaigns to sell other types of things in my business. So that was merchandise, lifestyle products, and juice cleanses for the most part. And so I'm going to show you real quick what that looked like. So this is the GPT now. I took a screenshot of it here because this is actual GPT. And this eventually went into a project for Good Part and Company. But within this GPT, it was trained on how I write. It was trained on who my audience is, which was mostly women in their mid to late 30s with disposable income. So I'm talking their language. I'm talking about things going on in Baltimore. And it was also trained on all of the juices in my menu. And so it was able to talk about all of these things. So I used it. This was the beginning of the conversation. This is the beginning of the prompt. I gave it all this context here, as you can see. And this is how you should be thinking about using your context. But here are the overall details of the campaign. I wanted to consist of 14 emails starting on this day. We're going to roll them out. And it gave reference for when the juice cleanse and the email campaign began, when it ended, what we're going to talk about. You just give it all of the context you need. And you can do all of this as well inside of a project. And because I had this project rolling for all of my emails, I was able to continue to refer back to this every time I did a juice cleanse campaign. And if I wanted, I could update and say, hey, this email got more opens. We might need to do more subject lines like this. That's the good thing about having a controlled environment, because now you can always reference the things that are working and the things that don't work as well. And this is my MailChimp dashboard for Good Part and Company. And we did pretty well with that outside of whenever the juice bar was actually closed. So that's how I use these projects, and a lot of the best business owners are using projects this way. So hack number 6 is the AI Royal Rumble. You choose and use all of the AI, because no single AI tool is the best for everything. All of them are going to be in the ring fighting. Some of them are going to tag team and go against somebody else and double team somebody else. Then they're going to stop, turn around, look at one another, and then they got to battle it out. And while they're doing all that battling, you're just choosing whoever's the best at the moment for the task that you need it for. And so you got to continue to compare and use what works best for you as the models update. Okay, I remember clearly when Claude dropped. The only thing I heard about it really was that Bezos invested in it, or Amazon was a part of it somehow. Anthropic dropped Claude, and so I heard it was better at writing. It had a more human experience, and so I decided I was going to use it. But I didn't want to pay for it right out the gate, so I started using it. It was better. Eventually, I started using it. I started paying for it, but I realized that it was actually better. So let's do a quick breakdown. These are the top 5 models that I use. This is the resource that I have. I'll put the link in the description if you want to download it. But these are the top 5 AI models. So this is the AI Showdown. And inside, there's a breakdown of all of the models, how I see them. Now, this is going to continue to get updated because the models are going to keep updating. This is what I think about all of them. This is ChatGPT is like a Swiss Army knife. Claude is a ethical editor, right? So it's based on, it's very ethical. It doesn't have memory. It won't save your memory. It's a really great writing assistant. Gemini is really great for productivity. So it has all of these big suite of tools that you can use, from VO3 to do video editing. You can build apps in it now. You can build automations and tools like Google Opal. So you can do a lot in Google. And then there's Perplexity, which is super great for research. It's a beast. I use it all the time. And then there's Grok. It's a bit more spicy. This is the personality hire. That's what I call it, right? But it is good for research. It's connected to X, so you get more live, up-to-date info. And so that's a part of the battle royal. You pick which model works for you, and then you continue to switch off to figure out which one works best. And last but not least, the 7th hack for the most time-rich founders, because they actually have time, then they have time to keep up with the news. And you got to do some trend surfing. You got to keep up with the news. You got to stay ahead of the game, right? Early adoption is your competitive advantage when it comes to almost everything, in technology specifically, okay? And so the best business owners I know of, the best operators, the best managers, they're always looking for some kind of competitive advantage. And that could be anything from having better employees, finding ways to cut expenses, doing bulk purchasing like I did when I was buying like fruits and produce, having better equipment, using flexible payment terms. Whatever you can do to get an advantage in your business without hurting somebody else, you're going to go for it. So you got to treat AI the same way. You can't just say, I'm going to start using it now and that's it. Whatever I got now is, I'm going to stick with it. No, it changes way too fast, and there are much better tools always being created, or much better features always popping up and making themselves present and available, and you should always stay on top of those. So just block out some time each week to catch up on AI news, maybe twice a week. You don't have to do it every day, but I would say at least once a week, maybe twice a week, right? Things happen on a Monday. By Friday, you never know, okay? And it's very easy. All you got to do is subscribe to a couple newsletters, subscribe to a couple YouTube channels. If you're heavy and you're deep into the game and you got automation set up, you can use automation to scrape for news, bring it back to you, send it to you in Slack, send you an email. You could do those things too. But I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to recommend a couple newsletters, and I'm going to recommend some YouTube channels. So I subscribe to The Intelligent Worker, and I subscribe to The Rundown AI. I subscribe to a few other AI newsletters as well, but these two are the best. The Intelligent Worker, I actually took a course by the guy who was the writer for this. The Rundown is super popular, and I like the way that they both format their emails and the info that they give. The rundown has a AI university or academy attached to it. So you can check that out too if you want to do some extra learning. I don't get paid by any of these people, but I just, I vouch for them because I subscribe. For YouTube, I subscribe to Rob the AI Guy, the AI Advantage, and the AI Daily Brief. So AI Advantage and Rob the AI Guy, they do a lot of use cases demonstrating how to use it. The AI Daily Brief, some use cases, some demonstrations, but actual news, like all the news of things, like how it's really impacting, if it's impacting laws and, all those types of things. So I like that. I like the AI Daily Brief. So these are some of the things that I take time to check out every week through my email or checking them out on YouTube. Those are the 7 hacks that separate time-rich business owners from those who are time poor and always drowning in busy work. Now, if you want an actual copy of this whiteboard, I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to work with me directly on getting AI into your business, I'll leave a link in the description. You can explore the options there. We could do a customized roadmap. We could talk about an implementation plan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll check you out in the next video.